Hello again, friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Sunday's Talking Town. It, of course, is a Sunday. It's 1 p.m, and we're here to discuss the mighty Super Blues after yesterday's heroic, really, 1-1 draw away at Aston Villa. Alex Palmer, take a bow, son. What a save to secure the point. The lap movement, Hutchinson, ball in the box. We'll discuss it all, and as always, we can't do it without you wonderful people at home, whether you're watching on YouTube or on Twitter, X, whatever you call it these days. Welcome in. Do leave a comment in our live chat. We'll try and get through as many as we can. We'll try and feature as many as we can on the show and really build the conversation around what you want to talk about at home about your football club. Like, subscribe. Every YouTuber asks you to do that. And if you're watching on Catch Up, FTA, comment for that algorithm. Let us know your thoughts and feelings. You don't have to be live to let us know what you're thinking, and we'll try and reply to as many as we can in our comments this week. And don't forget, we are partnered with the East Anglian Air Ambulance. If you want to help to save lives and have the chance to win £1,000 every week, and who wouldn't say yes to both those questions, play the East Anglian Air Ambulance Lottery. By playing from just £1 each week, you're helping to keep their yellow helicopters flying. The East Anglian Air Ambulance Lottery creates 18 winners every week with prizes ranging from £50 to £1,000. Over 18s only. T's and C's applies. Link in our description. But please, whatever you do, gamble responsibly. We've got a couple of comments. We've got Oscar saying, my brother's family, they're Villa fans. I'm so happy with that result. We've got Andy and Lynn welcome into the chat. And Sharon, of course, hope you're all well. Mike D. Palmer palming them away. The last save was truly world class. And British Boyo, how good is Palmer? What a shot stopper. Steve Howard, some say we dropped 2 points, but with 10 men to fight for a draw is an amazing result. Well done, Town, and especially Palmer. Keep them coming in. Joining me this week is Matthew Phillips. Welcome in, Matt. How are we?
Good. I'm still the same as I was yesterday. I was shaking with adrenaline yesterday.
It was that sort of game.
It was a draw, but it felt like 3 points, didn't it? It was such a fantastic. So all good Sunday.
All good. Yeah, it is an all good Sunday. It does feel like a win a little bit, having gone down to 10 men, and we'll discuss all of that. But I want to say a huge thank you to you personally, face to face, although not in the same room, obviously, but face to face here, because you stood in at the very last minute for me yesterday to host the Match Reaction Show. It's had over 2,000 views on YouTube. It had quite a lot of views on X or Twitter as well. But honestly, from me to you, thank you so much for standing in last minute and doing that. And of course, to Ben for being a fantastic contributor. But it was a great show. So well done. Last minute.
Cheers. I was literally about to go to Aldi's when the bat phone rang. I need you on the show.
You see, that's why you save phone calls for emergencies. When you knew I was phoning you, that's when you thought, it's an emergency here.
Oh my God.
I don't phone anybody. But let's discuss what happened yesterday. So Aston Villa won, Ipswich Town won. Where do you want to start? There's lots to unpack this week.
I think, look, we started the show yesterday with Ben talking about Alex Palmer, and I suppose head and shoulders was man of the match, wasn't he? I mean, we were saying, like, obviously it wasn't his debut, was it? But it was his Premier League debut, and they kind of alluded to that on Match of the Day, didn't they? With Shearer and Joe Hart, to say someone stepping up into the Premier League for the first time at 28, so a senior keeper. And what a performance. I mean, they showed, 5 or 6 saves that he made to keep us in the game. Just phenomenal. And as I said on to Ben yesterday, the irony, of course, is we've had such issues in that department this season. I think on the international feed of the game yesterday, they said the bottom 3 have had 9 keepers between them this season. This shows you what musical chairs it is, not just at Ipswich, but at Leicester and Southampton and Wolves. So maybe we've now found our number 1. We said we thought he might just come in. Well, he's only coming in to be number 1, and you can see why yesterday. I mean, I'm not sure it's sustainable, Mark, in that level of performance week in, week out against elite sides, but certainly in that 90 minutes yesterday, in the cut and thrust of the rain and the wind at Villa, it was enough to see us over the line and get a really valuable point.
Yeah, and it could be a valuable point come the end of the season. It's a great point. He's already won you 1 point as a goalkeeper, and they say goalkeepers win you a certain amount of points each season. It could have started all differently, though. You know, it's obviously his debut. He's out of his area. There's a minimal of touches. It could have been so different as a debut. But from that point on, he got himself into the game. And he pulled off some absolutely fantastic saves. That one towards the end, wow, just take a bow. I mean, he's on the floor. It's instinctive. It's a reaction. It's what you pay the money for. And 2 million suddenly looks like bargain of the century as we sit here right now.
Yeah, it does. It was a phenomenal save, that, wasn't it? I mean, it started with that Rashford move on the left, as Ben said yesterday. Rashford suddenly looked like he'd rediscovered football, didn't he? You always say this, don't you? Along come Ipswich, it's either a new manager bounce or a player needs to get their confidence, motivation, whatever, their mojo back. And Rashford looked like the Rashford that burst onto the scene, as Mika Richards said, burst onto the scene at Old Trafford. And yeah, he hits the bar, doesn't he, for the goal? We'll come to that. But yeah, that was a great save from Palmer. It's just instinctive, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that's where we're fickle as fans, aren't we? Because Muric wasn't far from that level against Brighton. If you think right back to the beginning of the season, I mean, there's lots of water under the bridge for him, sadly, with mistakes and bad decisions. But he put in a really good performance against Brighton. But now he's relegated to the bench, and it's Alex Palmer's shirt. And yeah, I mean, we've debated how good the transfer window was, really. And Ben said on the show yesterday, could this be the Marcus Stewart-esque signing, albeit at the other end of the pitch, that actually does something for Ipswich in this campaign? I hope so. Fingers crossed, anyway.
Yeah, and many fans will be thinking, as James is this morning, why didn't we go for Palmer in the summer? As well as, or instead of, obviously, the goalkeeper we did go for. You'd be £8 million better off for a start.
Well, maybe West Brom. Yeah, yes, true. I mean, who knows? Maybe we did go. I mean, you never know, really, do you? I mean, there's always so many deals in play in football. You're like chess pieces just moving around the board.
Yeah,
and the domino effect of people moving on from other clubs. I mean, maybe they did. Maybe West Brom said, we're not interested at that time. But so, I mean, look, they didn't just pick his name out of a hat. Presumably, he'd been on the radar for a long time. It's probably similar to like Philogene had been on the radar for a year plus.
Yeah, and it is fine margins, isn't it? Because I don't trust referees to make that decision that the referee made.
That guy.
Well, no, this is it, and we'll come on to the actual yellow card first of all. But there is a minimal contact there as Palmer, brushes the Aston Villa centre forward, and a different day, a different referee, even the same referee, he could have walked. I don't know if VAR would have overturned it, as there was contact.
They did look at it, didn't they?
They did, but they stood with the on-field decision, and they're doing that. They're trying to do that more, and I just don't trust the standard of referees to get that call right 9 times out of 10. And on a different day, we're sitting here, saying, "Oh, what have we done?" Almost, but he didn't. He righted it. He built in the game, and he had a fantastic performance. Just, if you can't write a better debut, really. As it goes.
Yeah, Hollywood script, wasn't it? I mean, yes, he could have. I mean, if he was in a different division, if he was in the Football League without VAR, he could have been sent off, and it's a whole different story, isn't it? But yeah, that was a heart and mouth moment, I've got to say. He's done a Muric here. He's come letting it out of the box.
Yeah, you could say that again, but he didn't.
Yeah.
And obviously, let's move on to Axel in terms of the referee. For me, that first yellow card, personally, my opinion, is a diabolical decision. It's right in front of the referee. He's won the ball. It's clean as day. I can't understand for the life of me, having once sat a referee's course, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Well, I mean, you've only got to see Match of the Day. So I said Shearer and Joe Hart, they slow it down. But Axel actually wins the ball. Yeah. I actually think he gets the yellow. If you actually watch the body language and the lip reading of the referee, it looks like he's saying, well, you've done 1 challenge there, 2 there. This is it.
Yeah, he does.
Which I think is, which is a bit harsh, really, considering the level of contact that actually produces the yellow in the first place. And as they say, they slow it down to see that he had won the ball.
But it's not a foul.
Exactly. And McKenna was frustrated enough by that decision to actually be critical of the referee, wasn't he? He said it's a typical decision that a smaller side gets in a bigger stadium. And I totally agree with him. I mean, look, we didn't like that referee at all yesterday, did we? Even prior to that decision, we were thinking something was a bit of a miss. I think we committed 11 fouls yesterday to Aston Villa's 7, and we come out with a plethora of yellows and a red. I don't think one Villa player got booked. And as Kieran was saying, we see that foul against the likes of Amari Hutchinson week in, week out, doesn't produce a yellow card. Yet we rock up to, whatever Villa Park holds, packed ground.
Great stadium, by the way. Great stadium, by the way.
Yeah,
I love Villa as a club.
Really I
love them as a club. Great stadium. Yeah. Historically, the semi-final of the FA Cup. Growing up, that's where one of the neutral grounds was. It's an old stadium. It's still a football stadium. It's not a modern bowl you get where it's a bit soulless. I like Aston Villa as a football club, and they're a good team, and we've really done well yesterday to get that point. But I just don't understand what and I said to you during the game, didn't I? It was getting the feeling because the lap was seemingly getting, the snot beat out of him at points, and it felt like we couldn't breathe on an Aston Villa player without being pulled up. Whereas we were clearly, so you say 7 fouls, but how many were ones that should have been but weren't?
Yeah, I mean, stats doesn't tell the whole picture, does it? I mean, they're just numbers on the page at the end of the day. It doesn't tell you the ferocity of the challenge or whatever it might be. But it just seemed like Ipswich, the smaller club, came out on the wrong side of the referee's decisions yesterday, and I think that's borne out. Oh, look, I've got no complaint about the second yellow. That was a yellow all day that Axel got. And he was a bit silly there in having to make that. Well, instinct takes over, I suppose. He's the guy's run into the D and he's tried to make the challenge, but it's not a challenge you can make on a yellow card, is it? It's gonna as soon as he went down, I thought, oh shit.
It's instinct, to be fair to Axel. He has to know better. Axel there. He has to know better as a senior player who's played an almighty amount of games for some top football clubs, played in the Champions League, etc.
Villa included.
He's got to know. He's got to know better there. But if I was to be overly critical, perhaps be aware of the situation, pull the player to one side. This could have been, but we're going to let it go. Calm down, one more, and you will walk. Maybe understand the gravitas of that situation. I don't think
Calvin helped him either. Calvin didn't help Axel there either. He was a little bit too slow in tracking back there. So I think that probably forced Axel's hand a little bit. But yeah, that was a yellow, and that now he's been sent off. But as we say, the first one should never have happened in the first place. But it is what it is. But no, he was a poor referee, that guy yesterday. I don't want to make excuses for us and all that. We get that a lot on the show, don't it? When people come on and that, the referee was this, that, and the other. But even yesterday, I was like, well, for Kieran McKenna to come out and say something, and he's normally pretty classy when it comes to these things, won't make excuses. He felt hard done by yesterday, and I feel like, it changes the dynamic of the game, doesn't it? Because then suddenly we're trying.
That's what I mean about managing the situation as a ref. You change the dynamic of the game on a yellow card where. And that's me. That's probably me talking as a Town fan. And he's a human being. The referee makes, he makes the decisions that he feels is right at the time, enforces the laws of the game, and that's the way it was. But
it's our third red this season, isn't it? So and we've not had a red card against us. Are you telling me in a top flight of football where people are jumping in on challenges, we've not had any red card challenges against us this season in 25 games? So I think that bears out what Kieran was saying. The smaller clubs don't get the decisions in the bigger stadiums. I think that's spot on.
Yeah, but as I jokingly said to you last night, you've got to actually, run up players and commit them to draw the fouls. we need to do that a bit more because, again, yesterday our transition was a bit slow, was a bit safe. There's a few times there we win the turnover. I just want a bit more bravery on the ball, perhaps. But look forward, play that line splitting pass, and too many times, not just yesterday, but in the last couple of weeks, we've perhaps been a bit scared on that ball to try and be brave and play quick on the transition, because our transition, Matt, needs to get quicker. It really does. We are slow when we win the turnover. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, Enciso's there to kind of help with that, isn't it? But of course, he goes off injured after a quarter of an hour. Fingers crossed that's going to be okay. I mean, I know he was a bit tearful, wasn't he, going off? Who knows? He might have just been caught up in the emotion. It might not be as bad as what we think. Let's wait and see. But I totally agree with you like that. But I mean, we've been saying all season there's an element of being toothless in the side, really. And I think you could draw a line of that back to the pre-season games. We weren't really scoring goals in pre-season, were we? Albeit against good teams. So it's been like that all season, I think. And look, Delap gets the goal yesterday. He's now in double figures. But we've only scored 23 in the league anyway. So he's got pretty much half of them. So where would we be without Liam Delap, right? But I mean, look. There we go. But it's going to be like that, I think, for the rest of the season. But I do feel like if Enciso isn't injured and can continue in the Town shirt, I feel like he is the one that can bring that kind of quick, unlock it, the transition, all that kind of thing. He's a counter-attacking player and shoots from distance. Even before he goes off yesterday, he had albeit a fairly tame effort for the keeper to save. At least he had a go. Do you know what I mean? That confident.
Yeah. Yeah, I've started calling him the magician because what he does with the ball so far in the Town shirt has been really good. He looks a quality player, and it's disappointing, obviously, for him and for us to see him go off in that manner. And there was tears, I think, and you hope it's not anything too serious.
Well, maybe that's what he was thinking. He's had a lot of injuries, which is why he's with us anyway. He's had a lot of injuries that's hampered his Brighton career. I mean, he was out for 180 days or whatever, so that's like 6 months. So he's come really back here to find some form to go into the summer of pre-season and then hit the ground running with Brighton next season. So maybe he was thinking he was hampered by that. I don't know. Let's keep our fingers crossed. At least he walked off the pitch. He didn't get stretchered off or anything. At least he albeit hobbled. So it might just be a muscle injury or something.
But it was a non-contact injury, which always makes you fear the worst, if anything, because it's non-contact.
They made a sub. They made a sub at the same time as well, wasn't it? So yeah, it was off camera, wasn't it? I don't know. Keep our fingers crossed anyway. But yeah, because I think he's going to be. Look, he's the kind of player you want against Tottenham or Man United under like Old Trafford, isn't he? Like you say, the magician. He can make things. He can make things happen. He can replicate the Sarmiento goal against Southampton last season. He's got that in his kind of his locker. He's that kind of player that just pops up in the box, winning around the box, and will score the goal that could make all the difference.
Yeah, and so far, he's looked like a player that's got the ability to win possession, but have really sticky control of it and beat a player or two, which when you're trying to beat a transition is great because you take a player out of the game, you open up space and away you go. And we've not really had too many players this year. Broadhead's pretty good at it himself. Amari can do it, but we've not really had players that can really beat a man or two and spring us into space. And we hope and we pray, don't we, obviously, that it's nothing too seriously. Townsend stepped into yesterday. Scott Maplethorpe says, Townsend impressed me. Davies may have to wait a few games now to get his next start. Which I disagree with the last part of that sentence. I thought Townsend did okay, Matt, but I feel like we really, particularly in this back three, back five shape, we really miss Leaf's ability to get forward and provide that instinct.
That's the transition again.
Yeah. I think we did.
He's key to that. But let's remember, like, we played with 10 men for 50 minutes? I think it was around the 40-minute mark. So, I mean, Connor Townsend is a straightforward left back, basically. So he was kind of needed, really, in that kind of second half blue wall to stop the Villa Alamo. He was needed for that. But yes, I think you missed. If you're going to talk about transition and not getting forward quick enough and bringing other players into the game, well, Leaf does that, doesn't he? Didn't break the assist record for nothing last season, did he?
No. Shano, Connor Townsend played well, not caught too far up the pitch. But I think he's right, Shano. But equally, in a back three, your left wing back needs to provide a lot of that width and the ability to get forward. But look, if Leaf is out for any length of time, I ain't worried about Connor Townsend coming into the team. He's a good defender. He's a good player. He's shown that over the few appearances he's had.
He's a better defender. I'd say he's a better defender. Probably. He's not. He hasn't got wing back attributes particularly, has he? He does his best with it, I think. But but I mean, if he has to play, he has to play. But he is a good defender. I'm surprised he's not had more minutes this season. When you think maybe when we're going to be less attacking, like at Liverpool, when you know that you're going to be on the edge of your box for pretty much 90 minutes. I thought maybe he would have started in those kind of games. I mean, as it was, he got the second half in that game anyway, didn't he? But I thought maybe we'd have seen more of him, just where he might have a little bit more tactical nous around how many chances you're going to get in a game in the bigger games against the bigger clubs. But he's done all right, hasn't he? And it's difficult, isn't it, just to come into a side and expect them to hit the ground running. Shows you what a good pro he is, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's move over to the right-hand side. Obviously, Johnson played right wing. I think and I might be in the minority here, but I really think we found a formation here that I really like. Back three with the ball, back five without the ball, and of course, your wing back's going to be such an important part of that. Wes is out injured now for the season, so we've lost him in that role. So Ben Johnson came in yesterday, played right wing back. How did you see his performance? Because I think that right wing back role is going to be key, as is the left wing back role. We need something from that position. Is it his shirt? Did he do enough? What's your thoughts on Ben Johnson's performance yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the Johnson crossfield ball to Amari that actually sets the goal up. So, beautiful, I mean, fair play for that. You could sleep on that because, it's all around Amari. The headlines are all around Amari and Delap, aren't they? But yeah, it starts with Johnson's crossfield ball. So that was really good. I feel sorry for him in a way. I do like Johnson. I like Townsend. I think he's a fish out of water moving too far forward. He does do it, and he has scored goals for West Ham, and of course, think back to the Fulham. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and think back to the Fulham game. It's him actually forces the ball onto the bar that allows Smodics to score from the rebound. So he does get forward, but I feel like we're probably judging a fish out of water a little bit. I think he's probably more comfortable as a traditional right back. I think as Townsend is more comfortable as a left back, but McKenna demands that you've got the width from those two positions. I mean, I'm surprised we're not seeing more of Godfrey, to be honest with you. I mean, he's a right back as well. I mean, we've said, like, jokingly say, swapped the Atalanta bench for ours, isn't he?
Well, he has so far.
Yeah. I mean, look, who knows how much he trained this week? There was a post on Instagram or something. He had a kid this week. So maybe he hasn't trained that much. Who knows? Yeah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to him. Yeah, exactly.
Ben
Yeah.
Godfrey, yeah.
Yeah, little boy, I think. I saw that flying around. It was being shared on maybe the Discord or something. So maybe he hasn't trained that much. You never quite know the full story, do you? What's been going on in the ins and outs of week to week at the club, really. But it seems odd to me that he's not featuring more. Well, he's going to feature next week, presumably, with Axel not being around.
Will he? Because Wolfie came on, and obviously I wasn't aware that he'd had a child, but Wolfie came on and instead of Godfrey, so it could be Wolfie that steps into that Axel role, that right hand centre half of the back three. It could be Ben Godfrey, but I thought Ben Johnson. I think as Shano says here, Ben Johnson hasn't let Town down. He needs a good run in the team. I think Shano's right. I think Ben Johnson really strikes me as a confidence player, and the more he plays, the better he gets. And he has been in and out of the side himself, and he started fairly, poorly yesterday. I thought there was a lot of joy from the Villa left-hand side, and I know that they're very attacking down their left, but I thought that was a real issue for us first 20 minutes, that right-hand side. They were getting in too often, but he grew into the game, and he actually had a really good game, got that pre-assist, which Mike D absolutely loves, that stat, the pre-assist stat, which I hate, but he got the pre-assist, and he grew into the game and had a really decent performance. And I again would play him next Saturday in that right-hand side. I think, as I said earlier, that the more games he plays, the better he'll get. But the back three, first half particularly, Matt, they got better. But with balls over the top, they really struggled. They looked like they were running with concrete boots.
Defence splitters. It was. Yeah. We I thought we deservedly got to half-time with a clean sheet, certainly after we'd lost that. I agree. But better finishing from Watkins. Like, there's one he drags wide, doesn't he? That maybe we certainly should have hit the target, really. But again, Palmer made a couple of good saves in that spell. I think that the new guy they got from Dortmund had an opportunity, I think. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting, wasn't it? When you think, I mean, the big takeaway yesterday, because obviously Morsey wasn't in the midfield. We'll come to that in a minute. There was no no one from the League One campaign at all in that starting 11 for the first time under McKenna, wasn't it? Which obviously we finished the game with Wolfie and Hurst on the pitch, but that was quite telling, wasn't it? But I thought Wolfen done great when he come on. But I mean, look, what the remit was the blue ball, wasn't it? You shall not pass, and they done it fantastically. And you go back to Johnson. I mean, he had Rashford to deal with for the entirety of the second half on that left, as we said earlier. He looked like he'd rediscovered his hunger for football, didn't he, Rashford?
Yeah, sadly for us on the day, but it didn't matter. I mean, they had a great free kick for their equaliser. I mean, it was a world-class free kick.
It was, yeah.
Watkins is on the right spot at the right time, and he gets the goal, and that's how it is. But yeah, about our midfield too, we might as well go into that now, as you've mentioned it. Obviously, Sam Morsey not part of the 18. Thigh injury. Okay, with my A&E visit last night, I've not really caught up with it. But what are your thoughts on Cajuste and Phillips? I'll start, because I think personally, for me, might be in a minority, but that's our midfield too. From this point on, I thought they played really well together. Phillips offers some passing range, which we don't normally have from that central midfield area. And Jens Cajuste, as always, gets around the pitch and does things. So I just really liked them too, particularly 10 men. They needed to really put in a shift at 10 men, and they did it. And I really like that combination. And it's harsh on Skipper, but what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm compromised on this, to be honest with you, because I think Morsey's stats are better than Phillips's and Cajuste's if you look across the season, albeit he's probably played more matches than them. But it's a hard one, isn't it? Look, we keep coming back to the same conversations, really. I mean, has Calvin really looked like the Calvin Phillips of old?
He did yesterday. Really. He looked on it yesterday. He looked from the first minutes, to the last, if you like.
He was getting a few challenges in, and he was culpable for the free kicks around the box, really. He was the one gave away the one that led to the goal, didn't he? He does play very well with Cajuste, I think. The problem I've got with Cajuste is I don't think it brings you enough bite. Like when Luongo came on yesterday and you were like, what's going on here? Well, first of all, we know Cajuste ain't going to play the 90 minutes. No. So is it going to be Luongo or Taylor was to come on? And what I do like about Cajuste, as we've said before, is that he's got that kind of that turn in his locker that gets the counter-attack started. I think that's really good. But as I've said before, I probably wouldn't be signing him because he can't, which is the reason why Brentford didn't sign him in the first place, is why he's here now. Because there was obviously a question mark around his fitness. He still hasn't completed 90 minutes, I don't think. And he doesn't quite, for me anyway, quite have the bite in midfield to, he's more of a ball player rather than a tough tackler, I think. I mean, look, he does get stuck into some challenges. but it's not the Morsey-esque style that when Morsey's missing, I think that is missing from our game in midfield. That kind of bullying factor, or just getting the old-fashioned roll your sleeves up and get stuck in kind of thing. But I mean, if you're talking about speed of transition, Cajuste does bring that to you. But whether or not, I mean, look, we only sign Cajuste if we presumably if we stay up, wherever that deal is going to be, 10 million or whatever. Is he worth 10 million of our money?
Yes, absolutely. Even as a third centre midfield player off the bench, absolutely. He's a quality player, and you're progressing in that department. And I hear you about Sam Morsey, and I agree with you. But for me, at this point of the season, I'd like that off the bench, in the sense of yesterday, Morsey coming on instead of Massimo Luongo, providing that bite when you're holding on to a lead, when you're trying to secure a point or whatever. But to start the game, the midfield, Phillips' passing range, Cajuste's ability on the transition, the ability to play in tight spaces. And I thought they both got around the centre of the pitch really well. And we weren't outmatched, we weren't out-energized, whatever term you want to put onto it. I'm sure there's a modern term for it. But we weren't overawed in that central midfield area, even at 10 men. It was never that we need to up that work rate or bring a central midfield player inside. I thought they did really well. And Mike D says Cajuste is our best midfield player. I
don't agree with that. The stats don't bear that out either.
Stats, Matt. Whatever. You know me and stats, mate. You know me and stats. Unless to go for my narrative, I'm not interested in the stat.
Well, I mean, I don't see what I mean. Okay, look, I'm not alone in thinking this, Jules. Seeing these comments, I wouldn't sign Jens because he doesn't. There's a question mark. There's a question. Well, Brentford didn't sign him for the very reasons I'm saying here. There's a question mark around his fitness. Now, whether or not that can be something that can be sorted in the summer with a pre-season going into next season, we'll have to wait and see. But I just think at 10 million quid with someone who doesn't complete 90 minutes. I'm right in fact saying that, right? He hasn't completed a 90 minutes this season.
I don't think he has. No,
I do like him, but you've got to look at this from a business point of view as well. That's £10 million worth. We think,
nothing, though, is it, in Premier League? Nothing in Premier League, sir.
Well, I mean, look, we've done 20 million on Philogene, haven't we? He didn't even feature. He didn't even feature yesterday.
No,
I don't know. I just wonder if there's better options there. I don't know. I'm a fan of him, and like I say, I like how he turns with the ball and brings it forward. But I do think he makes errors that go under the radar, and I don't think he's tough tackling enough. But maybe that's not the remit you want. Certainly, if you've got a Morsey next to you, I'm not sure. I'm in two minds on that one.
I think you've got to separate the two. If you're signing him to be your central midfield starter, I agree with you, because you don't get the consistency of completion of minutes from him.
Yeah.
If you're signing him as part of as a four, and you're saying, hey, he's our third option off the bench, he provides what he provides in 20 minutes, he can start when suspensions happen, play 70, etc. I would sign him, and I wouldn't even blink about it. It would be a no-brainer. But I think you've got to separate it personally. As in what are you trying to achieve with that signing? Because I think you're right. As a starter, perhaps the consistency of minutes isn't there to say, okay, he's a definite. But 10 million in the Premier League, I mean, so that's nothing.
True enough, but there's got to be a question mark there as to why Napoli have let him go in the first place.
Yeah, well, could be a managerial decision. Could be anything.
Could be anything.
Absolutely anything.
It could be, but he didn't get much opportunity in Serie A with them. Look, they're fresh out of winning a couple of years ago, winning 2-3 years ago, whatever it was, winning the title, of course. I don't know. Just the minutes thing for me and the fitness. And that's the reason why Brentford was his first choice originally. He didn't pass the medical there, which is why Ipswich came in and got him. I mean, maybe Ipswich came in and got him knowing that he would only do 75, 80 minutes. And you've got Calvin there, you've got Taylor, you've got Morsey, and then to some extent you've got Luongo there to help manage that, I guess. There's elements of his game I like. but everyone seems to be sort of treating him like he's God's gift to midfield. I ain't not seeing that. But there's elements of his game I like. I do, like you say, if you're going to try and increase the transition from defence to attack, he does bring that to you. But there's negatives there as well with him, I think.
Yep. Due to the demand in the chat, I've just started a poll. Would you sign Jens Cajuste? Yes or no? So if you're on YouTube, do vote on that poll. If you're on X, come across to YouTube, give us a vote. And I have dropped a link as well. So if you want to come on the show and have your say about anything you've heard today, anything about the game yesterday, or of course, a McKenna Ashton interview from Thursday, please do come on and have your say. Boris, it says one point is worth 5 Bulgarian lev. Cheers. No, cheers to you, Boris. Appreciate the 5 Bulgarian lev. Excellent work. Thanks for watching as well. Mount D doesn't have the bite of Big T, Matt. That's what he's missing of it.
Well, exactly. Backinson, you see. I like Big T. Yeah, we've said this before, haven't we? How far this club has gone from Tyreek Backinson to getting people on loan from Napoli in a very short space of time. Yeah. Well, that shows you how well we've done, right?
Yeah, Stephen Parry Phillips was tackling more and blocking shots. Paul P wouldn't change that central midfield personally. It looked stronger. Joe, in the future, we should bring on Morsey like we did for Luongo yesterday. So sort of echoing what I've just said there. Yeah. Great for your comments, Joe. Appreciate your comments. Michael, Calvin Phillips operates at best as a single defensive pivot. That's too many modern technology for me. I don't know what defensive pivot is. I say jokingly. In which he played his best football at Leeds under... he did. Michael is absolutely spot on, really. And I thought he looked bang up for it yesterday. Really hungry.
Yeah, a lot of people take Palmer out of the equation. A lot of people thought Phillips was man of the match yesterday. I mean, fair play to him. Do you know what I mean? He's had a lot of criticism from Town fans this season, myself included. He's not looked always at the races to me, but I thought he done. Other than the free kicks he was giving away in very dangerous positions, I thought he did all right yesterday.
Yeah. And I come back to it. His passing range is something we don't necessarily have from any of our midfield players. You know, the ability to receive the ball from the three centre halves, turn and play a diagonal ball or a line splitting ball, or whatever. I love him. Yeah, I love him. It's how you beat a press. And Aston Villa being a Champions League side of a world class press. Let's go to the goal, because the goal is poetry in motion. Ben Johnson receives it. He plays a lofted ball out to Amari Hudson, similar to the lofted ball he played back to Muric, I think, at West Ham. Just this time it's in the right direction.
Yeah,
I haven't. I don't think
Muric slow with
it.
Cheers for that.
Welcome to the club. Plays a lovely ball out to Amari, who does everything you want from the winger. Receives it, draws him in, beats him on the outside, and Delap, showing why he'll play for a top 4 side next year. His movement in the box is just chef's kiss. It's beautiful. Gets across seemingly 3 Aston Villa players. Deft touch, bottom left, 1-0 Town. Q, limbs in the away section. I've been in that away section. Beautiful to see the limbs. What are your thoughts on that goal? Just, as I say, poetry in motion.
Yeah. Well, we was having a discussion about Hutchinson at half time, weren't we? He was on our list of maybe getting him subbed.
Yeah. Yes.
Which is why he might not in the dugout, everybody. We were trying to think about who you sacrificed, didn't we? In terms of being more defensive in the second half. And I mean, Amari done great for that. I mean, he was a little bit anonymous, I think, in the first half, but you only need a moment to influence the game, don't you? And like we said earlier, Johnson sends the ball over to him, gets it on the right-hand side. Lovely little cross. Maybe it took a slight deflection, maybe. But it sits up beautifully for Delap, like you say. I mean, he's now on double figures. 10 for the season, which is phenomenal. Also, it's pretty much half our goals in the league this season, rather worryingly. But brilliant. And also, you can't beat that big slide he did on the turf towards the fans, can you? Have you ever done that, Martin, back in your playing days?
Funnily enough, no, never have. I was never a big slider, even in playing. So no. I would have done the old the dance from the Super Bowl if I'd scored this weekend, because that's gone viral. It's everywhere. You see it. You didn't even have to see the performance from Kendrick Lamar to actually do the dance. But that's what I would have done. I would have. That'd have been
your choice. I mean, with that goal, then comes the fact that we've suddenly gone from thinking we're going to get done here 2-3, 4-0 to being 1-up. And Martin's doing the little moves.
I am doing
if you're listening to this. Yes, suddenly we feel like we're going to get something out of the game. Can we dream 3 points? At worst, maybe a point. It set us up, didn't it? I mean, just fantastic. And when you consider that McKenna's been quite. Well, I won't say it's been critical, but there's been people saying, and McKenna was one of them, saying that when we've gone a goal down, for example, or we've had a setback, you've seen what he would call heads have dropped. The belief wasn't there. It's very easy to get back into that mindset, I think, when you lose Axel, you're down to 10 minutes against the Champions League side. You're coming in off the back of losing to the worst team in the Premier League in Southampton. You could excuse people thinking, shit, we're going to get done 2, 3, 4 here. Suddenly we come out in the second half. Within 10 minutes, we're 1-up. Yeah. So I thought it was... I was just tremendous. It gave us a platform to hold on to, didn't it? Which allowed us to soak up the pressure, really.
And I think it gives the fans on the terraces at home watching the show today just a massive boost to see that performance. Down to 10 men, as you say, you could have really been put to the sword, and it wouldn't have been a complaint, because they're a Champions League side full of absolute quality players with a one-man advantage. And if you'd walked away and sat here today saying, we got beat 3-1, 4-0, it wouldn't have been too many complaints because of how the game was sort of going in terms of the numerical advantage. But to sit here today with that performance, the guts, the determination, the desire, the work rate, everything you're going to need between now and in the next 13 games, if this club is going to secure its Premier League survival. And you saw it in buckets. It would have been so easy to capitulate. You've had 2 hide-ins from 2 world-class teams. You come off the back of Southampton. But to see that gives me as a fan just a massive shot of, we can do this. This club can survive it. And obviously you've got Wolves at 2 o'clock today. You hope Liverpool put them to the sword as they did to us. But we can survive it. Now, does it give you that belief, Matt, like it has done to me?
It does, but I will say, I still look at the fixture list and think, shit, we're going to get 3 points from. I mean, look at the effort it's taken just to get to 17. Do you know what I mean? But yes, I do agree with you. I mean, we could easily have just capitulated yesterday, like as we did against maybe not in the scoreline against Brighton, but certainly we looked toothless against Brighton once we went 1 down. And of course, we get done at Anfield 4-1, didn't we? Yeah, I was expecting that at half time. I won't lie. I mean, I've said to you, didn't I? I feel like here come. What can we do to try and protect this 0-0? But it was brilliant that we took the 1-0 lead, and then that gave the platform for the display that you saw. Yeah. And I think Palmer probably gave everyone confidence as well. Do you know what I mean? He's making these saves left, right, and centre. It was all hands to the pump, literally, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is. And Paul P said we need to build on that performance, or it'll be another false dawn. Have to improve our home, and we do. Well, yes. But now you've got, you're unbeaten in 2. You've beaten Coventry, and you've beaten. You've beaten Coventry, and you've drawn against Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Two performances to build something on against a Tottenham side now coming into Portman Road, not in the greatest of form. You don't know what Tottenham side are going to turn up. This is a great opportunity, and you feel like we can grasp it. Suddenly, from last week, feeling absolutely rock bottom and dejected, and we're down. It's just a matter of when. Now suddenly, you could be turning the season around in a space of a fortnight. And Spurs is a good team, Martin, to be playing. I think, because like you say, they're unpredictable. We've already beaten them at their ground, so you really don't know what they're going to be like. Their fans are very dramatic because they all think they're in a relegation battle. I mean, they're not, are they? They're 10 points clear of us for one thing. Yeah, they're relegation battle.
I mean,
there's 4 and they ain't one of them.
Yeah, exactly. So that makes me chuckle a little bit. And we've got a good record against Tottenham in the Premier League at Portman Road anyway. So yeah, I mean, let's see what happens. But we needed that, didn't we? Like you say, you came Coventry, so after post Southampton, really disappointing. Everyone's crestfallen, like you said. You felt like we were slipping through the trapdoor in that game. We come out against Coventry, show we're too good for a team competing for playoffs by considerable margin, didn't we? I mean, we looked like,
comfortable
a league side. Yeah, exactly. And then against 10 men yesterday, we actually showed that when backs to the wall, we can compete. And unlucky maybe not to win it, having taken the lead. But yeah, there's lots of positives off the last 2 games. We've not been able to say that much this season at all, have we? When you look at back-to-back matches.
Quick word on Jack Clark before I bring in Frank. Obviously came on yesterday. The first player McKenna turned to when sadly Enciso went down. I was surprised. I thought it might be Jaden Philogene, but it wasn't. It was Jack Clark he turned to. And then obviously then was the player sacrificed at half time. What are your thoughts? I've seen comments on social media about, I hope he doesn't knock his confidence after Coventry. I don't think it will. I think as a player, you understand the situation of the game, and you understand that 10 men, game plans go out of the window, and it's one of those things. The
context of the match changed, didn't it? The context of the match changed. When you take in Enciso, if you bring, I mean, it's a huge thing for him, for McKenna to turn to him straight away, like you say, not Philogene, our record signing, against his old club, who turns to Clark, who was in form, had put in a really good performance against Coventry. But yeah, they'd have sat down in the dressing room. McKenna said, right, we're going to have to make some tactical tweaks here. And Jack Clark would have understood that. He would have understood that. Absolutely. So let's wait and see. He could still feature, depending on what's wrong with Enciso, he could still feature against Tottenham next week. Well, his old club as well, remember?
Yeah.
Never really got an opportunity there, did he? So he'd probably like to get one over them, I would imagine. Don't read too much into that. The context of the game changed, and thus the tactics changed.
Yeah. it's one of those things. I think as a player, you take it on the chin. You understand what's got to happen, why it's got to happen, and you don't take it like, it's me. It's clearly I don't bring enough to the squat side or whatever. You might take it as a human being because you look at the context and you go, we have to change. We have to do something.
He done all right when he come on as well. He made a couple of nice little tackles and trying to start attacks. Let's see what the team will be for Spurs.
He's growing as a Premier League player, Jack Clark. For me, he's growing, in stages, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the brace against Coventry, fantastic. Very unlucky against Fulham, like you said. It's the post, could have gone in. As it is, it starts the counter attack that leads to their penalty. I mean, how's your luck right now? And we've said he needed moments really, and they've been few and far between. But he's had a couple against Coventry, and now let's see what happens moving forward. We'll have to see what's wrong with Enciso first, but let's see if there's a role for him to play next week. Could well be.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget, we are partnered with Stowmarket Osteopaths. Don't live life in pain. Give Freddie a call. He's the governor at Stowmarket Osteopaths. 01449613633. That's 01449613633. Tell him I've sent you, and hopefully he can help you out. Don't live life in pain. Right, we've got Frank joining us. Frank, welcome in. What's your thoughts on our mighty football club?
Well, the mighty football club is all the more mightier now after yesterday's performance. That was a revelation. I think arguably the best performance of the whole season, given the fact that for 50 plus with added on time, 55 minutes, we had to play with 10 men. It's against Villa away from home. The likelihood was, and I thought it, I'm sure you thought it too, that's it. It's curtains when we lost Tuanzebe, which wasn't actually the first yellow card should never have been a yellow card. I think we're all in agreement. Even Match of the Day pundits, Gary Lineker and the gang, Alan Shearer included, said it was never a yellow card. And on VAR, they had one of the referees on Sky, and he said no, it shouldn't have been a yellow card. So we were hard done by with that. And as Kieran McKenna said, the smaller clubs always get those decisions going against them. I've got a friend who's an Evertonian. He said, Frank, you'll discover in the Premier League that the big clubs will always get those decisions, and we will fall flat on our faces. Well, let's consider what actually happened yesterday. It was a remarkable turnaround in the sense that for 60, best part of 55 minutes, we were with 10 men, and then we scored a wonder goal. Hamari Hutchinson did what we'd always hoped he might do, and he was doing it in the Championship last season, and that was go to the byline, get an accurate crossover, and there was Delap, your favourite, Martin, who it was so subtle, it was sublime, it was a beautiful turn and finish. So I apologise for anything I've said previously about Liam Delap, because he's a wonder kid, and he's really grown into the Premiership so wonderfully well that his valuation will increase probably 2 or 3-fold now. But the problem with that is that arrangement with Manchester City, which is a bit vague. I'm desperately hopeful that they can't cull him back, and if they do they need him now with somebody who just scored a hat-trick yesterday? Haaland and that guy, I mean, will they be tempted to, even if there is a deal in the making there, want him to come back? But overall, yesterday, it was an outstanding performance by Town, and the man of the match, I think we all know who it was, Alex Palmer. Now, I said the last time I was on here, in the transfer window, what do we need? I said, we need a goalkeeper. Desperately need. And whether Kieran McKenna heard me, you never know. That's what they did. They went out and got a keeper. And the argument I made is there's tons of good keepers in the Championship and the lower leagues. Why do we get Muric in the first place? I'm sorry, but that's my opinion. The only reason I remember him is for all the mistakes he made with Burnley before he came to Ipswich, and for that amount of money, it was a ridiculous decision. So fire the goalkeeping coach.
Well, I don't think he recruited him. He may well have done, but
he might have had some influence over it. I mean, who are you going to go to when you're looking for a goal? Isn't it the goalkeeping coach who will sort of put in a few names?
Well, these days, Frank, I think it's probably stats and projections and Excel spreadsheets, or the equivalent of. But we are where we are. Obviously, we signed Alex Palmer, £2 million yesterday. Suddenly seems like an absolute bargain. I got a question in the chat from Sharon, which I'm hoping you could maybe share your thoughts on. And Sharon asks, why is our home form so poor? What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it's a conundrum, isn't it, really? Because previously in the Championship and in League One, our home form was the reason why we were there or thereabouts all the time. So I think there's different elements at play here. I think confidence issues. We're playing against the best of the best, and we tend to try to go out on the front foot from the beginning. Yeah. That's sometimes a mistake because these Premier clubs, they know exactly what we're going to do. They've researched our every little, except for the Connor Chaplin knockback that was synonymous with our performances in the Championship. They haven't worked that one out for some reason, but all the others, they've got it well and truly graphed. So we've got to be a bit more inventive, I think, to get over the line. Now, I think there is a possibility against Tottenham. They'll always give you a chance. And not only that, if this is not a morale boost yesterday, then what could be a morale boost? Because this was a phenomenal display, arguably the best of the season. And I think that should, when we play Tottenham, give us the confidence to go out there and get 3 points. And I think, maybe it's my heart rule in my head, I think we can get 3 points against Spurs. And I think we can get a point at Man United in the next one, at least a point. So, you know, if we got, assume that, and this is a big assumption, assume that we won the next 2 games and everyone's sort of largely writing us off over. Well, suddenly that changes everything in the league table because Wolves have played Liverpool today. I'd be absolutely gobsmacked if they get anything from anything there at Anfield. So it's not over. Now, I thought it was over a few weeks ago. I really did. But I've had a change of heart because I saw the way everyone was playing for Kieran McKenna yesterday. The whole squad, everyone was there. Agreed. You know, it was just an extraordinary display. And I think there's light at the end of a very dark players' tunnel now. And maybe at the end of it, we have some hope that we can stay in this league. What do you think on that? Do you think you're more optimistic now than you were before?
Me, certainly. Matthew?
Well, yes, I am optimistic, but it's still like climbing Everest, isn't it? But I mean, you've only got to look at Everton. You mentioned them earlier, Frank. You only got to look at Everton. I remember driving back from somewhere and their game at Bournemouth was on TalkSport and Troy Deeney was saying, this is the worst, still under Dyche, by the way, saying this is the worst team I've seen in the Premier League all season. They could be here until next week, wouldn't score. Look at them now. Well clear under Moyes. So it doesn't, and that was only the start of January. So we're not even out of February yet. So I mean, it doesn't take much to turn it round, does it? But I don't know, it's still going to be tough for Town. Let's not forget. I mean, we're still in the relegation zone, as we said earlier.
But we've got to also remember Wolves at home. That's a real banker. If we were to get 6 points there, or 3 points there, it would effectively seem like 6.
Got to win that game.
We've got how many? 39 points to play for.
Leicester away coming up as well. Obviously, that's a fairly big game. But all right,
How are you feeling, Frank? Anyway, how's your road to recovery going? I'm sure everyone will be interested.
Much better to be on the road to recovery than on the road. Put it that way. And that I've got a lump around here around my collarbone. I have to see the doctor again today. But look, I'm getting on the bike. I played pool on Friday night. I'm on 6-1. So I can't throw darts. I'm in a darts team, but the shoulder, when you try and throw darts.
Give that a bit more time. Give it a bit more time for that.
Coach Dompe, he can't want to go in there. Frankie, because I think he misses the English because of his days when he was darting professionally. I'm the only Englishman there, so he always puts a drink on the bar for me when I go in. I haven't seen him since the accident, but I was there on Friday just to give them a bit of support. They lost 5-4, but I wanted to be there even though I couldn't throw any darts. But I am on the road to recovery. I'm pleased to say. Give me another couple of months, and I'll be there for Brentford, hopefully in May. And I'll see you again by the Sir Alf again.
Good. We look forward to seeing you.
And I'll make sure I cross the road.
Make sure you cross the road properly, Frank.
Remember the
cross code.
Remember the
I think maybe that's what but in the Netherlands, a friend of mine said the traffic's coming in the opposite direction. So maybe I was expecting to see, I'd had a few beers. Maybe I was expecting to see the cars coming a different way, and I didn't look closely enough. So Frank, my fault. I'm not blaming
Look
you.
after yourself. Stay well, and we'll speak to you soon.
Frank.
Look after yourself. All right.
All
the best. Eric Weaver, Morsey plays the defence. Mostly seems to be giving him the ball. Morsey transitional play is slow because of his style. Opponents are aware of this. With Cajuste and Phillips, our transition is faster. Fair point. I think, don't you?
It is. I mean, but every game's different, isn't it? No one's moaning about Morsey when he sticks that pass over to Davis to volley in against Leicester, right? It's the same with Amari yesterday.
But you can't pull out singular
No,
moment
You can't. But it'd be very interesting dynamic how that moves forward. Certainly, I don't think you can take, for what we said earlier, I don't think Cajuste is going to come out of the side. It's either going to be one of Morsey or Phillips in that other berth.
I agree.
Because Morsey and Phillips are just too slow. Phillips' strength, as you rightly said earlier, is his vision and pass and all that kind of stuff. But Morsey's done fantastically well to campaign at this level, given his career's been around the Championship, League One, League Two, really. So he's done fantastically well. But yes, as we now run into the last 13 games, maybe Phillips and Cajuste will be a better option. And as you and the others are saying, maybe Morsey comes in and gives you a bit more bite as the game's running down.
Potentially so. We've got 9 minutes left. I do want to cover the interview from Thursday. Don't forget, you can also get more conversation on our Discord 24/7/365 by becoming a YouTube member. $4.99. Cancel at any point. You get Discord for the month of which you've paid $4.99. We had our first Discord only pre-game show yesterday, which was good. I enjoyed doing it. It was fun. There'll be more of those hopefully as we go through the season pre-game, and then there's some other stuff I'm working on, which Matt doesn't know. He keeps saying, "Tell me."
Don't tell me.
I can't tell you. I can't because I haven't got a clue myself yet. I'm working it on the fly. So joined me yesterday in the pre-game show was this man. So a huge thank you to him. But let's hear what he's going to say. Steve, sorry you've not got long this afternoon, but what are your thoughts on the football club? And thank you for yesterday, by the way. I really appreciate you joining me on the pre-game show.
No worries, it was fun. Realistically, it's something that I've been mentioning and a few others have been mentioning. Yesterday showed us why we needed it and what we needed. It was the bite, the determination, the fight. For the last few weeks, it seems like that had gone, and we're just like letting teams walk all over us. There was nobody punching into challenges and going into, yes, you're going to risk giving away a yellow card. But I saw the FA Cup last week. Some of these smaller teams really going at Premier League sides. Yes, I know you can say the level's different, but the players they're playing are not as good as but the level of the team is different. So that makes up for that. But they're still going in and they're giving them a good fight. They're giving them a good go. And they're going in challenging teams by pressing them high, pushing them, going into tackles quickly. And that's what we were doing yesterday. Even from the start, we were pressing them high. We're not giving them any space. So they started doing long balls, which are easy to defend. I know a few got through, but they're still easier to defend. If you can force a team to play long, more often than not, you're going to stop that ball. Yeah. And that changed, obviously, with the sending off. And I think just prior to that sending off, we were getting back into the game and we were getting a hold of the game a bit and get a bit more play. And I think, at that stage, I'm thinking like, hey, we can get something out of this. And that sending off, that dynamic changed it. All of a sudden, it was backs against the wall. But we were still doing the same things. The principles were the same. We were going into tackles. We were forcing people. We were staying strong. We were getting in front of shots, blocking shots, things that we hadn't been doing. And it's such basic defending. I know the keeper pulled out some good saves, and credit to Palmer for that. But it goes back to what we were saying. You can't always leave it on your last line of defence, your goalkeeper. Defenders have to take responsibility and start, look, there's a shot coming in, I'm getting myself in there. And we were doing that yesterday. And O'Shea and Greaves, credit to them as well. They both put a shift in and they were headed and kicked and all sorts of way. Phillips were getting into the box, getting some blocks. I thought Phillips, I've been saying it for a long time. I think he's an upgrade on Morsey. I understand what Matt's saying, but I do think his Premier League experience, his Premier League nous is more important in this stage where we're at than what Morsey is. I always think Morsey's a risk when he's on the field. He seems too eager. I know he likes to pick up the ball and pass it on, but Phillips was doing that perfectly fine yesterday and he wasn't panicking, But Morsey seems like he's always too eager and he's always a little bit slow and he's always taking the foul. He's always getting the foul. He seems happy getting the foul, but we can't risk people as we had with, Axel yesterday. We can't risk at this moment in time people being sent off. We had to fight even hard because we had a man sent off. If we didn't have a man sent off, I think the game was there for us to attack yesterday because Aston Villa weren't at the best. They had some good players on the field. And I think realistically, it was only, Rashford that was making them tick. Morgan Rogers wasn't doing nothing. Ramsey wasn't doing nothing. Asensio, when he came on, he's got 19 trophies. he didn't do a lot. He forced one save. There was only Rashford who was making them tick. And without Rashford, I don't think they'd have had much, because most of their danger play was coming down Rashford on the right. And I don't blame Ben Johnson for getting skinned by Rashford. You play 400 and odd times for United, you're going to be half decent, So I don't blame him for that. But all I want to know is I want to see us do that more often this season, home and away. Yeah, being determined, hard work rate, and going into challenges and forcing the team to say, look, you want to beat us, you got to beat us. You got to play better than us, and that's what we haven't been doing. We've just been so soft, and teams have just took advantage of us.
Absolutely, Steve. Yeah, I love your comments. Thanks ever so much for jumping on. Look after yourself. Have a great rest of the Sunday.
Thanks,
Hopefully,
all the best.
We'll put the cherry on the cake. Someone says no Tommy K in our chat today. How did Forest get on? How did Nottingham Forest get on this week? Have they not played yet?
Lost, didn't they? Lost to Fulham.
Okay.
2-1.
Maybe that's. But then Mike says Tommy K, the Norwich fan. How did Norwich get on? Was it Preston this weekend?
They lost to Preston in the week. I think they drew with Hull yesterday. I think it was 1-1.
Ah, you're right. Yeah, it was Hull.
Hull.
Dino says Ashton's plea on Town TV about we've got to be as one, must have got the players as well. As yesterday, we could see they were playing for each other and the club, all in this together. Very quickly before we close ahead of the Wolves game, what are your thoughts on that interview? Matt Holland led the questions. I wasn't asked again, but okay, fine. You
expected to get the call, are you?
Not against Matt Holland, no, I concede that. Matt Holland led the questions.
You need the old roll neck thing.
I've got a roll neck. Don't worry. If that is the criteria, I have a roll neck. But no, Ashton and McKenna, what are your thoughts on that interview released on Thursday?
Well, I've disappointed no one said oxygen. That annoyed me.
The new buzzword is unity. We have reached you in the dictionary, Matthew. It is unity.
Yeah. It was a great rallying call from Ashton, wasn't it? I mean, let's not forget there is an element of club propaganda to all of this. I would argue that we have all been as one this season. All right, people disappeared after 70 minutes against Manchester City, but I mean, certainly the fans don't think have really let the club down at all in terms of what the things that Ashton wants to do. Sell shirts, spend money in the stadium, get behind the club. I think they've had that in bucket loads. I mean, how many did we take to Coventry in the cup? 5,000. There's only so much the fans can do. At the end of the day, it actually boils down to the fellow who sat to his left and the squad of players. I mean, I think the fans have done everything they can this season. Made me chuckle when he said, the local media will hold us to account. Don't hold your breath on that one. Podcasters got a mention as well, didn't they, Ryan?
Podcasters got a mention, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, we're with you. I think I think I could probably speak for all the podcasters, but I would never do that. But I think we're all with you. I think we've been with you through the whole season. It isn't a Leicester or another club where there seems to be this rumbling of anger or pressure or anything like that. I would argue there's been zero pressure outside really the Southampton game, and it was a good message. It was a well written, well spoken message, as you would expect from two fantastic speakers. It struck me as odd, just because there hasn't been any lack of unity, in the sense of I've not felt it, and I sit in this chair and speak to various fans, 52 weeks of the year. I've not really felt it this year, but it was a good message, and I think right, we've got to be as one. It's how we improve and how we stick together and all of that. We've said that on the show. That if you look at the bottom four, Ipswich are in a far better position than all the other ones. I mean, you've got Southampton have changed managers. I mean, we've had our friend Martin Sanders from the Football Martin channel. He's already relegated them, hasn't he? In fact, we've given them 4 points, hasn't helped particularly. I mean, they get done 3-1 yesterday, and he said, people were leaving the stadium. So they're in a terrible space. And then you've got Leicester, obviously changed their manager twice since Maresca. Not looking good for them. Wolves just seem like a fractured side to me. You've seen the discipline record they've had even against us, and the week before that against West Ham. I mean, there's no harmony there. I think Ipswich are in a much better space energetically and in terms of the manager we've got and all that kind of thing. I mean, I've said before, maybe that puts Kieran into a slight comfort zone, which I don't like particularly. But, he's generated so much money in the bank for us that, there's all that goodwill there. Oh, he's got credit for decades, let's be honest. Yeah.
So, see, I think Mark Ashton and Kieran are kind of preaching to the converted a little bit. And I think we're in a much better space than those, which is why I think it would be such a travesty if it was us to go down, because I think we're in a much better space, ownership wise, manager wise, fan base wise, than those three clubs.
And I think it's great that we get them. I think it's great that they sit down and however you feel about them, from whether you think they are propaganda, or whether you think they're not really probing questions, or whether you think they're brilliant, whatever your viewpoint on them, it's great that we have them. It's brilliant that they do that, because there's no obligation to do that. There's no Premier League mandated, you must do this, X, Y, and Z. No. Obviously, next year you're back to I believe, and I might be wrong when I say this, if you go down, the mandated EFL fan forums, which obviously is why perhaps you're getting these interviews, because there is no fan forum. Well, I don't believe there's been a fan forum.
We had one this season.
I don't think we have. I don't feel like if we have, it's bypassed me, and I might be wrong. So the chat or on catch up can let us know. But obviously, the EFL like to have, is it 2 a season? They like to. Yeah.
I mean. That was one of the things with Game Changer, wasn't it? You saw that quite quickly, didn't you, when they came in? I mean, the irony was that you never heard from Marcus Evans ever. And they come in, and then suddenly they were very visible, which was a great move right off from the off, I think. But yeah, you're right.
And if I had the chance to speak to them, I would have said, there's been so much grey around this football club that you need to shine a light, and it needs to be, it needs to be definitive. Don't let the grey area, because it's in the grey where the rumour and the conversation start about, this is why, or that why, or this, so just put the light on it and be transparent and open and honest. And they've done that, and they've been brilliant at it, and they've continued it where they don't really have to have continued it.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I feel like he's probably preached and converted a little bit. I mean, yeah, you take the Southampton game out, everyone's like really disappointed, feeling a bit crestfallen. They bounce back with a really good win at Coventry. Then you get back to Premier League action against Aston Villa in a huge game. So you can see where they're trying to sort of take this narrative of what keep together, 13 games to go now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Press the guitar. But no, it was excellent. Anyway, we're done. Let's finish up there, because Wolves are 2 minutes in. We'll see how that one gets on. Don't forget, we are live again on Wednesday for our match preview. Hopefully, we're sitting down with a Tottenham. I say we. Hopefully, this man's going to sit down with a Tottenham fan. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Take care of each other. Stay well, and thanks for watching. So all the best. Take care. God bless. Bye all. All the best. You make me smile when I think of you. If I get down low and I get blue, I can't get enough. You make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine. I can't get enough. I woke up all soaked in sweat, with chills running down my neck. I'm going crazy from just the thought of you.